Disruptors, Carrie here. And as you can tell, I have a guest today for one of our New Year's podcasts. I think there's no better way to start the new year than to have somebody that is thriving, that is not going to have to put on her New Year's resolutions, lose weight, find a diet, all that kind of stuff. And you are starting off the year in a whole new way than last year. So, Deb, I am so happy to have you here. How are you?
I am doing wonderful, thank you. Life
Oh
is
my God.
awesome.
I'm so excited that you wanted to share your story, that we're here to talk all about you. And, this is the first time that I'm really seeing you. We've kind of gone back and forth a little bit, but and you're glowing. And I'm so excited because I first got to meet you when you first said yes, and you were on the struggle bus. I call it Pain Island. You were sitting over there in Pain Island, and now you're hanging out with us in Pleasure Island.
Mhm.
And let's talk about what that was like. How did you find us? What was Pain Island all about? Got to go back and think about where you were.
Oh gosh, back on Pain Island. So I did every diet possible. I did Weight Watchers, Noom. I eat before I found Disruptive Nutrition, I found strength training, which was great, but I
Mhm,
didn't lose any weight. I gained muscle, but there
mhm,
was definitely all the weight was just hanging on.
mhm.
Um, and did better. I went out of the starvation diet at least. I was out of the 1,200 calories and started eating more like 1,750, but
But
still,
still counting them all. You
oh,
knew
still, oh yeah,
exactly
My
how many
Fitness
calories.
Pal was my friend. Oh yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
gosh.
Oh my gosh, yes. So the journey of not having to do that anymore is so amazing. Oh
Right?
my gosh, it's just, yeah. And so really, I think I found you on TikTok.
You did find me on TikTok, and it's so funny because I remember when you told me about the TikTok, and you were like, there was no place to click on to be able to do anything. You
Oh,
had to
that's right. I had to wait for you guys to email
yeah,
me.
you had an email, and then you were gritty. And I love that, but it's because TikTok has been my nemesis. And like when my kids first got TikTok, it was a dance thing. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. And so I just avoided it. And our social media manager would just throw some things up there, but we didn't nurture it at all. We had no followers. And so when you don't have any followers, you can't put a link. I learned after
Oh,
this happened to you. All you can do is put an
oh,
email in. You have to earn your stripes.
oh.
So anyway, you were a gritty one because TikTok still drives me crazy. But
Yeah.
anyway, but you found us. And what made you I mean, you emailed us, and then you followed up, and you know, you heard something different than what you
Yeah,
had
well,
been doing before.
my daughter's a type 1 diabetic.
Hmm.
So the whole thing about blood sugar regulation said, oh, that makes sense. I
Yeah.
mean, it made huge sense that that's what was missing in because wearing the CGM and eating like I
Continuous
used
glucose
to eat.
monitor because you wore a
Yep,
glucose
the
monitor.
continuous
Yep.
glucose yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yep. And wearing wearing that and then eating a full bag of candy plus other sugary things and seeing that literally probably for 12 hours my blood sugar was high. So literally
Wow.
out of the good range.
Yeah, so let's use that data for a second. We'll talk more about your story and stuff. But when you think about life before disruptive nutrition, right? And we think about how, everything in moderation, maybe, or calories in versus calories out. You could just count those calories and for that
Right.
candy, and you'd be like, okay,
I
fine.
mean, yeah,
But you weren't realizing the spike that it was doing on your glucose. And when your glucose is hanging out at that high level for very long periods of time, because you just didn't know how food worked in your body, you could be eating the exact amount of calories that any nutritionist will tell you to do and continue to gain weight, certainly not lose any weight, because your glucose, your blood sugar, you're completely dysregulated.
right.
And so
And
I
that's
love that you were
whole
wearing the monitor with us
yeah.
because you could see that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was amazing. Well, it was one of those things where towards the end of the journey of the glucose monitor, I was like, oh, I need to test that. I need to test that. So there was a bunch of things. I wore it specifically at Thanksgiving. Oh, that was a mess. Thanksgiving just wrecked me. Oh my God, totally wrecked. So it was just good. So it was great data.
But this is
Really.
what I think is so important. So the longer, I always say that the longer you are regulating your blood sugar through food, the less and less your body has to keep doing it on its own. And the less tired it is, the less it has to hold on to stored fat, the less it has to, deal with all of the imbalance of hormones. So when you do go off plan, really, and just have that appreciation meal and soul serving food, what's interesting, and you can tell me this, as you were getting towards like maybe 3 months in, was your body able to recover quicker when you were off plan versus when you first started?
I would say now that I'm at that space,
Yeah.
I'm just now, like the other day at Christmas, we had, of course, bags and bags of candy. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to splurge during this window of time. And then
Yeah.
after that, I gave all the other candy back to my kids.
Yep.
I didn't have a glucose monitor, so I couldn't see what it did, but I feel like I recovered really quick. But
Yeah.
I'm in a sweet spot right now. There's no cravings. I
Oh,
get hungry every 3 to 4 hours. It's just beautiful. So I'm like in this really awesome space. I can't,
and how long have you been working with us?
um, 6 months?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's been about 6 months. And
Yeah.
so when I think about 6 months ago, and you were in the middle of 2023, right? And it's like, if you're like so many other women, it's like every year you start another year saying, okay, this time I'm going to do it. This time I've got this. And it just never, you couldn't sustain it. You would fall off of it. What is making this different now for you as you go into a new year, not having to look for anything else again?
Well, I mean, it's the whole program. It truly, so as a coach myself,
Right. Tell us
as a
what you
coach
do.
myself,
Yeah.
you guys put in all the components that you need to stay on track. So it's the daily videos, it's, checking in with your coach. It's I would say the biggest, I used to do morning time and then I stopped it. And so I'm like, at morning time is critical for me. I cannot
Yes.
not have morning time. So it's funny how all the things I know I was supposed to do, but sometimes I fell off the wagon. Now it's like, oh no, I get it. This is
Yes.
totally so so
It's
it's the whole
amazing.
program.
There's like a shift within your identity versus what you do. Would you agree?
Um yeah, well, for me, I've built up my morning time so that it sets the tone for the day in a
Yeah.
way that nothing else can. It's my
Mhm.
own words, my own affirmations that I read every day that
Mhm.
just charges me up and I'm ready to go. So
I
it's
love
just
that.
it's just so powerful that
Yeah, and there's so many different components to morning time and everybody does it a little different and that's what, part of it is finding that what you
yeah,
said sweet spot and being able to figure out what it is that you need to be doing. S- So, let's go back to Pain Island a little bit and then talk a little bit more about what it means to live on Pleasure Island because a lot of times people will say this just sounds too good to be true. Like I don't
yeah.
believe with all that, all the decades of dieting that we're doing that living in Pleasure Island when you're not obsessing about food, not obsessing about your body, still making progress, but not counting calories and tracking everything. How different is life now than it was?
Um it's just, I guess it's just, I don't know. I can't, it's so funny because I've been living in this sweet spot for so long. I don't want to go back to Pain Island.
Yeah, even
Um,
remembering it,
I'm like,
right?
oh
Th-
my gosh.
But there's so many people living there right now, and they're just like,
Yeah,
this is what it is. This is my reality. I can't even picture another reality.
I don't get sleepies in the afternoon.
Mhm.
I used to chase, why in the world am I sleepy, in
Mhm.
the afternoons? Well, I'd have a high sugar lunch, duh. Or,
Right.
something that I thought was really good for me. I cannot eat a baked potato. Baked potato sends me, it's like poison to me.
For you.
I
Right.
can't think.
Isn't
Literally,
that interesting? And that's different for you than it is for somebody else.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
So for me, this has been a journey of what has food done to my body.
Mhm.
So I was gluten-free before I met you guys, before I
Okay.
went to Disruptive Nutrition,
Okay.
but I am no longer dairy at all. Dairy
Oh,
is
okay.
completely cut out. Dairy causes inflammation in my body, and
So, pause for 1 second because I love that. And you know this about me, right? I'll never tell people what they can or can't have. This is a journey of self-discovery. And you now know your body so well that you are making choices for yourself, not because I have told you what to do. Would you
Mhm.
agree?
Correct. I mean, I gave up ice cream. I loved ice cream. I still love ice cream, but I won't have it because what it does to my body. I
Mm,
just won't have it. I'll choose sherbet over it, and sherbet I can manage that because I can eat it with protein, and it's great. It's wonderful.
yep,
It follows
yep.
the metrics that we need to keep me on track, and it's just it's really yeah, this formula is just amazing. I can actually see that someday I will, and if I don't lose my fat, I don't care. But I can see it just falling off my body right now, which just feels so good. It just feels so good.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh,
You're fueling, you're eating all day, you're eating carbs, you're not tracking your
nope,
calories.
nope.
Fitness Pal, I mean, I don't know. Do you still even have it installed on your phone?
I do just to check what the carb. So I want to, like most
Yep,
foods now that I eat on a routine basis, I already know what 20 carbs is. But if it's a new food, I'll go check it out to say, okay, how much of this can I have? Just
yep,
so that so stay on track. So I use it as a reference,
yep,
references for how much protein,
yep. Yeah.
what
Yeah.
the
That's what
carbs
I
are.
use it for too. I would never, I want to take the time. I think, how much time do you think you spent entering food on an app? Just
Oh,
keeping track of all the food you ate. And now you're not doing any of that.
no,
I
no.
mean, incredible. So, what made you say yes? Like, what was the thing when you spoke to who was the coach that you originally spoke to? Was it Amanda? No. Who was it? Do you remember?
Was it Deb? No, no, Deb is my
No, I
coach
don't think it
now.
was Deb. I'm trying to remember who it was. I feel like maybe it was Amanda because I remember jumping on the call with you guys.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was.
Okay. Anyway, so when we'll call it Amanda, when you first talked, what was it that she said that you were like, yeah, I got to do this?
Well,
Because
it's
it's a
definitely,
big decision.
yeah, yeah.
It's a
No,
commitment financially, but also for you to believe that this is the last nutritional advice you'll ever need.
yeah. Well,
Like we
I
had to
mean,
have said something.
yeah, well, it's the whole journey that I did with my daughter. I mean, as a type 1 diabetic and knowing how her blood sugar impacts her mood. She's got, so I don't know how many people are out there on type 1 diet, but basically every time she eats, she has to dose insulin. So
Yeah.
basically she has like an artificial pancreas that has to manage her insulin.
Yep.
So occasionally she'd be super high,
Yeah.
and we have to be really careful not to give her, if we know that it was an emotional high from blood
Hmm.
sugar, we could not give the calculation of insulin. We would give only half, because if we gave her over, then she'd tank and she'd be low,
Yeah,
and then
because
we'd have
that's
to.
the roller coaster we
And
talk about. The
yeah,
higher you go up, the faster you
yep,
fall.
yep.
Yeah,
So there's tons of reasons that your blood sugar can go up high, and stress is one of them.
yeah,
Stress and emotions, the whole nine yards. So just knowing the components of being a type 1, so she was 11, so I managed her diabetes for 10 years. So it's just one of those things where I understood the impact of blood sugar, and I'm like, oh my God, this just makes so much sense.
right. But you hadn't applied it to you in your own life, right?
And
And
no
isn't it
clue.
crazy that your doctors won't even tell you this? Like, I mean, the fact that our number one clients are doctors tells you a ton
Why is
because,
everybody not getting A1Cs done?
well, I mean, I do, but I don't know. But here's the problem. Here's the thing. My A1Cs are fine, right? They've always been fine. Many, many people will get their blood sugar tested. It's one kind of the A1C is your average over the last 3 months, but until you are insulin resistant or until you are, pre-diabetic, because insulin resistance is pre-diabetic, it won't necessarily show up. But every time you're on that blood sugar roller coaster, which you were all the
Oh,
time,
yes.
it takes a while before it will show up in your A1C. But isn't it important for us to start dealing with it now because it's a math equation?
Yeah.
It,
Well,
you're
I
going
wish
to
I
get
had,
diabetes.
yeah, I wish I had the A1C, because I know that I would have had an improvement 100%.
Oh, if you had it
If
before,
I
you
ever
never
had
had
it,
it.
I've never had it done. It would
Interesting.
be awesome to know what my A1C was. I bet you I've decreased it a point easily,
I would
easily.
agree. But you have to have. No, there's no way.
Yeah.
This is what it's just so incredible because I talk about this is what everybody needs. Everybody, because our
Yes.
body is all based on the same physiological components. Now, a baked potato spikes your blood sugar. It doesn't spike mine as much,
Oh,
right? And so that's interesting. Now, there's also the order in which we eat our food matters
Yes.
too. And this
Yep.
is stuff that you can learn. And so if you love a baked potato, it's never about what you can't have, but how much fiber can we have before, and protein and fat, and then play with the amounts of the baked potato. And then there's sometimes, because your body is just completely healing, that you're like, I'm having the baked potato,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's interesting because I was able to give up gluten because gluten would just negatively impact my gut and my
Yeah.
sinuses. And just so giving up gluten, an Oreo cookie would wreck me for days. So,
Right. Well,
days. And because it was the sugar and the gluten.
you
So,
had the sugar and the gluten, and as well as a whole lot of,
yeah,
chemicals
junk.
and additives and all that stuff. But it's really interesting when we talk about gluten, because for me, and this was a real journey of self-discovery, like, if I had gluten, if I would put it into my meals or whatever it is, I didn't really feel it in my gut. The way I know dairy inflames me. My rings don't fit on my fingers. I get acne the next day. It's obvious when I have dairy. But gluten didn't make me feel that way until I started making the connection that I would get tired
Uh,
so often. And because I'm through menopause, my adrenals work extra hard. And gluten, for so many women, today's gluten, very different
yes.
than
Yes.
back when we were kids and had Wonder Bread. The Wonder Bread back then is not like the Wonder Bread is now. The gluten is very different. And so I encourage women not to say what you can't have, but to understand your body. And if it
Yep.
doesn't serve your body, you got to really decide why you're having it. So that brings me to my question about your why. Because you've tried all these diets, right? And when you look back on them now, you're like, I'm sure you're like, okay, that wasn't the healthiest thing I could have done.
Right.
And my guess is you might have also known that some of these diets weren't terribly healthy. Is that true?
No, I actually thought they were teaching me what I was supposed to know.
Okay. Isn't
I
that
really
crazy?
thought that they were the experts, and now I look at the diet industry and just shake my head. We're so
Mhm.
focused on the scale. I've thrown away, I don't, the scale is irrelevant now. I think it is such a negative information piece for women that
Yep.
how culturally we've just, done some really horrible things to women around weight.
Yep.
And so, I guess my biggest why it has always been to be healthier.
Okay.
And I thought healthier meant lower weight,
Mhm.
being skinny, or, so now it's like, oh no. So now I get it. I get the journey that I'm on is just really feeling good in my body, which is what I do right now. I feel good in my body. I love
Oh,
how I
yeah.
eat. And
And it doesn't mean you don't lose weight. It's just
right.
like when you are going after weight loss, you get sold all sorts of snake oil. But a healthy body is what
Mm,
releases weight, not a
exactly.
starved body. And now your body is getting healthier every day. So then it's like, girl, we can release the weight now because we were holding on to it because you weren't healthy.
Right. Correct.
It's so
It's just
incredible.
amazing. It is. It's so much fun. Yeah, and this journey of really sticking to your why, knowing why you're doing what you're doing is so important, and that is part of my mantras in the morning is
Yep.
remembering my why. And for me, really, my mom just saw her first great grandson the other day. So being able to, see a great grandchildren is definitely on my
Mhm.
why of why I
Yep.
want to be healthy. Why, my mom is 81 and lives with me, and she has a very sedentary life, and that's what
Mhm.
she's chosen.
Mhm.
Because I've encouraged her to try to do more,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to be in my 80s functioning just like I am now. So
Yep.
I'm
We're going to be
currently,
kicking soccer balls around when we're in our
yeah,
80s,
yeah,
right?
absolutely, 100%. So, I'm
Yep.
54 and I'm proud to be 54. I wouldn't change that for the world. So, um,
Yeah. I mean,
level 54 in the game of life,
yes, I love it. And it's really all around you being the best version of yourself so that you can go do the things that you were actually put on this earth to do. You were not put on your earth to spend all of your time entering your food into an app.
Yep.
And when you think about how many hours we have done that, how,
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
it's so
Oh
crazy.
my gosh, you're right.
How do you think this knowledge now that you have impacts others around you? your daughter, people in your life, your mother, anybody that you're coming around, how does now you knowing this impact others?
Well, I don't buy candy anymore for my children. I used to have weekly candy runs for them. Their love language is gifts. So, going to buy the candy was a way to get
Yeah.
them a gift.
Yeah.
They're of course 17, 19, and 22. So
Amazing ages for you to know this information.
so really, they don't want to listen to mom, but that's
No.
okay. I'm showing by example. So it's
Yep.
just one of those things where, I'm making sure that the protein source that we're getting is going to get them the level they need to,
Yep.
marry whatever. So as I cook, I'm using, because that's how they see how I'm eating.
Yep.
And that's all I can do right now is
Yep.
to model that.
It's
Um,
so perfect. I was actually at a parenting class when my kids were younger, and the coach was talking about how when your kids are like 0 to 2, your role as a parent is keeping them safe. Like that's literally the role, right? And as I adopted my second child, that was their job once she was a baby until we were able to take over. And then from 2 to 12, you're their teacher. And right? Like they listen to you then. Like you can teach them things and they're open. And then from 12 to about 16, I think it was about 16, you're their model. And they're not really listening to you, but they're watching you. And then as
mhm.
they get a little bit over 17, 18 to I think it was about 23, 24, you're their coach. And then from there, you're their mentor.
Oh,
And
I haven't heard
so
that. That's good.
I love that. And I think at your age of where your kids, you're in that model to coaching phase.
Mhm.
And you now know so much more that you're going to be able to model for and coach them in right in the most important time of their lives.
Yeah. The six spinning plates at first I was like, oh, I gotta keep six spinning plates. Okay, but it's just so perfect. It's exactly, I just love that formula. So I have it as part of one of my things I do in the morning time, just to look at the list and say, is there which area here? It's part of I teach as a coach my abundance scale. And
Yes.
it's so funny because, it's an abundance scale from 0 to 10. And wherever you are at, let's say you're a 5, the goal is to get to 5.1, which is 1%, which
1%.
is
Yep.
which is 1%, which I was like, oh my God, it's so in line. You guys were so in line with what I already teach. So it was just, so for me, it was just, oh my gosh, this is such a huge fit for my
I
life
love it.
and what I
I
do,
love it. I
and
love it.
how I teach, what I teach to my clients.
Tell us a little bit about what you teach and the type of coach that you are. I love, and this is what I do too, right? Coaches know the value of being coached. And
Yes.
so each of us have coaches. And so tell
Yes.
us about your coaching and what you do for clients.
So I call myself an abundance coach. So as a CPA, I teach people about money. So,
Mhm.
and usually money is a symptom of what's going on in your life. So
Mhm.
I tend to be a life coach as well as dealing with budgets. And so I have like two very distinct type of people that come to me. People who are in retirement that have a lot of money that are concerned about spending their money,
Mm.
and those are really fun people to work with, that they have a pot of money and they got to figure out what is the safe amount to spend.
Yep.
And then I have the other people that are overspending.
Mhm.
So working with both groups gives me insight into a whole host of um, information and really helping people in both arenas. So that's
And I love that because it's like so interesting because it's really a catalyst. What your topic of what you coach, and honestly, the topic of what I coach is really they may be different, but so many attributes as to why we struggle all stems from the same stuff. This is why people say, I just give me a meal plan. And I'm like, I don't do meal plans anymore because we're not actually getting to the root of what you really need. And it manifests itself often through food and money. Which is why in
Mhm.
our membership group, we do different guest coaches that have to do with finances and money and things like that, because so many times we emotionally spend, we emotionally eat, and it's all coming from a very similar place. So I love that the work that you do really parallels the work that we do. And I hope that a lot of what you're learning here for yourself, you're able to bring into your clients.
Oh, absolutely. And that's as a coach, I know I need to fill my cup first. And so I
Hmm.
love how you have all your mantras. In the trifecta, it has the I love me sign, which is hanging in my office. So it's just, so, as a 2 on the Enneagram, really focusing on me and putting myself first.
Yeah, because as a two, you want to help others. You want to help others. You want to help
Mhm.
others.
Yep,
And
that's my motivating factor,
yep.
and but yet I have to prioritize me in
Yes.
order to be able to help others,
Yes.
and so really carving out, ensuring that I'm taking the best care of me is just, so, so important.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it so much. I mean, you are walking into this new year. This is why I'm so excited that we're talking to you as we move into this new year, because you're walking in just a different version of yourself. And
Mhm.
it's so that you can be there for others in a whole new way. So if 2023 was where it was for you, I can't wait to see when you get a whole year
Yes.
of really knowing yourself and being on this journey with yourself and constantly every day getting stronger and more
Yes.
aligned with your body. I love that you're listening to your body and you're not ghosting it, which
Nope.
so many of us do, right? Like we have these
Oh.
cravings and we just assume it's our willpower and then we have more sugar.
Yes. Oh no, the physical being in I think that's probably one of the most interesting things about the trifecta is really how we learn to listen to our body. And I'm not really certain you don't really say that to listen. Maybe you do say it, but it's like, I don't know, it's just a byproduct of this whole
Yeah. Well,
system.
we do. You talked about love languages. We do talk a lot about, right? Like knowing your body's love
Right.
language.
Oh,
And
right, right, right. Yes, yes,
that
yes.
has so much to do with
It's
it.
so funny because it's just all in the mix. So it's
Mhm.
interesting as to how we just absorb it,
Yes.
little bits at a time. And so it just becomes part of who we are. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. It's just lovely.
Ah,
Um, it's just lovely. And
I I love this. I love your story. I love where you are and where you're going. So just close us with a couple of thoughts around 2024 as after our clients finish the first 3 months, which I call the honeymoon, and then they're with us for a lifetime. And so then there's power hour workshops, and we're really digging into 2024 and having a word for the year and having a focus. Tell us about what yours is this year and how different that is from yours before.
So this year the words, because I couldn't come up with one, is called My Path. So it's all about my path. And literally I know what I want to launch a business this year, probably two, but we'll see. It's one of those things where I realize that I can't do this journey alone. So this is a whole journey of finding people to come along on the journey with me. I found one partner for one business and I'm looking for another one. And so it's really um, expanding on a journey that is really truly designed by me and taking the time to um, delegate, so to step up as the big boss, growing my CPA practice, and so it's going to be
Oh my
an
gosh.
absolutely fun
So
year.
how has your journey over these last 6 months kind of propelled you to be able to do that this year? Do you think if you hadn't been on this journey that you'd be doing all of this right now?
Probably not because I wouldn't have been consistent with my morning time. I would have,
Mhm.
yeah, you're right. So actually, there's really been a stronger focus
Mhm.
on me
Mhm.
and doing the Enneagram. And oh yeah, so it's just, yeah, it's amazing on how it all just comes together.
I love it. I
Um,
love
you
how you're
know,
starting off the year in a totally different way. And I always say like you're not because you're not spending all your cognitive load on my fitness pal anymore.
oh right.
You now have
Or
space. Like I
or
think about one of our clients, Melissa, who was like, I always wanted to write children's books. And so she started writing children's books after 45 years of dieting because she had tracked everything for so long.
yeah.
So,
And just feeling better. We can do more
yes.
feeling better. I mean,
Yes.
the amount of time, like I used to ask myself, why are my feet swelling at night? And like why do I have, and not enough that anybody else could notice, but enough so that I could
Feel it?
notice.
Yeah.
And of course that was the dairy. The
Yep.
dairy was causing the feet swelling, but I had
Yep.
no idea
Yep.
what
Yep.
was causing.
And now
So
you know. So
yeah,
now
so yeah.
you can do.
Yeah,
And
and
I
now
love that.
and it's easy to stay healthy. I mean, this is such an easy formula that anybody can do. and really take care of themselves. It's just fabulous. It's just a
I
fabulous journey.
love it. And I love that you took some time to share your story, inspire others. And for those of you that are like, okay, this is interesting to me, we are offering a live workshop to be able to get your 2024 to a place where it's never been before. So in January, I think it's 16th, it's the third Tuesday of the month, January 16th, we are doing a live workshop. I'll put a link in here so you can go register. You're going to hang out with me. Deb, I hope you'll be there. You can like cheer people on, but we're going to take a formula so that 2024 during this workshop becomes the best year of your life. So comment live if you want more information on that, but I'll also put a link above. Deb, you're amazing. You're inspirational. And I can't wait. We should do this again towards the end of
Yes,
2024 to see what
absolutely.
you did. Does that sound good?
That'd be wonderful. That'd be
I
great.
love it. Happy New Year to everyone. And Deb, thank you so much. Remember, wherever you are in your journey, there's a place for you at Disruptive Nutrition. Go sign up for our live workshop. Let's go.